And welcome back. Are you looking to buy a home? Springtime, maybe you are. You probably have a lot of questions about mortgages and down payments, and so that is why we brought in Fox Business. We went to great expense and distance to bring in Fox Business's Gerri Willis to break it all down for you. And they wanted me to ask you the question, is this the right time to buy a home?
It's always the right time.
The National Association of Realtors always says it's the right time to buy a home.
They sure do.
Is it the right time to buy a home?
Well, let me tell you. Okay, so headwinds, low rates, right? They're not super high here, but not a lot of inventory, not a lot to choose from. And the prices have gone up and gone up dramatically. I think what you need to know is whether you can get a mortgage and at what cost, and that's a very important part of the equation.
Can you?
The reality is what's happened so interesting, the big banks have virtually left the field. They've left it, a lot of small players in there originating loans. Check this out. Wells Fargo #1, JP Morgan #2, but Quicken, which is not even a bank, is the nation's third largest mortgage lender. Look at those lists right there. PennyMac, Flagstar, Freedom Mortgage. These are three companies in the top 10 of mortgage originators.
Who?
That's what I said.
But I love the regional financials, so smaller names like that. When this housing boom eventually takes off, Steve, it will happen. When it does take off, they're going to be the big winners. I mean, I think they're the ones that are going to be lending, not the big names.
Now, if you want to work with a big bank, the good news is they're going to service your loan for you, but they're not offering you the best terms right now. That's what my insiders tell me. They say not the best terms, go to the small institutions, these institutions to get the best.
So then you get into Fannie, Freddie, and conventional loans that they can sell off to Fannie and Freddie, and that was the way they did it for decades and decades until the politicians messed it up. So now the question is, are they making the Fannie and Freddie loans again?
Yeah.
Because jumbos for the expensive homes were really hard to get, and now I hear they're they're easier to get than...
Let me tell you who it is easiest to get money for. Look, if you're trying to make it on your own, you want to be your own man, this is not the market for you. If you are low income and you're having a hard time, you're struggling, you can put 3% down and have a 580 credit score and get a loan. And that's because of the federal government's involvement. That's because President Obama has said lending to low-income people is a priority for my administration.
How we got
exactly. The Clinton administration trying to push everybody into a home. That's the exact thing that happened. And it hurts. As a business owner myself, it'd be very difficult for me to get a loan right now to buy a new home versus somebody, like you said, low income.
You would have a terrible time. Because you have to prove everything. The new rules mean you have to show incredible amounts of documentation. And if you are not getting a paycheck, a W-2 from somebody else, you're kind of
Gerri,
screwed.
is it easier, though, to actually build a new construction, or is it easier to buy a pre-existing? Are we seeing much of a difference in these new rules?
It's always easier to buy pre-existing because they know how to do that. Easy peasy. You want the simplest thing possible. What they've done over and over and over again, that's what they're willing to do. But I have to tell you, if you're in the market right now, you're going to have to go on a website like bankrate.com and find out who's going to give you the best terms. You have to compare offers more now than ever before.
But the terms are relatively still, even probably the worst term is better than most mortgages were 5 years ago.
Rates have come up a little bit. There is that. But I believe that it's still difficult for some. It's tough for Matt to get a loan right now. If he's got a small business. But
because he's self-employed?
Because he's self-employed.
That is probably the most important factor of what's going on today versus ever before. The W-2 that Gerri mentioned, it's everything. As long as you have a W-2, you have an employer who pays you a paycheck through a W-2, you're okay. Somehow you'll get it, especially if you're in the lower income because of the supportive programs there are. But if you have a 1099 or a LLC, forget it. Even if you can show double the assets, even liquid assets, because you say, you know what, I'm going to get a mortgage even though I can pay cash.
Crazy
rules.
Give it to you. Because if I've been in business for 20 years, and I can show a steady stream of income.
Right. Well, you could show, you can show, again, you can have the assets. You could have $10 million in the bank. And if you go for a mortgage for something, a $1 million property, you will not get it.
What happened to the Blackstones and all the other investors that went in and were buying up all cash, and that's what drained the supply?
Done. They're gone.
Okay, but are they selling the homes so that buyers can go out and buy them? Because that was the problem. Nobody could get them.
They boosted the prices because they got into the marketplace. First-time home buyers still not in the market. We're still working on that. You know, I mentioned before the big banks are out of the market. The reason they're out of the market is because there was such heavy regulation on them. Plus, they faced $100 billion in fines lines. They have backed off. They were 60% of the market. Now they're 30%.
They're not going to go there again. The other problem, though, is we have all these millennials that have student loans up to their ears. So when it comes to the ratios for qualifying, they don't qualify.
That's right.
But they're renters, and a lot of those homes you talked about that Blackstone had, they sold those off to other companies that are now renting them. So a lot of renters have come into these homes because it's much easier to rent than it is to buy.
All right. Gerri, thank you for joining us. We have, you don't want to miss Gerri's week-long special that's going on, User's Guide to Spring Real Estate. It's all this week, 5 o'clock, right here on Fox Business.